first book of the Old Testament begins with Genesis. Stories like God's creation, Noah's Ark, or Abraham's journey are introduced in this book. So, what are the stories at the end of the Old Testament? There are 12 books called the Minor Prophets. Some of them, like Jonah, are well known, but others are not. The last 4 books of the Old Testament we will read over the next month are Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Maybe our friends don't know much about them. Just as Genesis, the first book of the Old Testament, is important, the minor prophets are also important. This is because the minor prophets serve as a bridge connecting the Old Testament and the New Testament. So today, shall we learn about the book of Zephaniah together? The book of Zephaniah talks about the family name of the prophet Zephaniah to show us what kind of person he was. Also, in order to tell us when Zephaniah delivered the words of prophecy, it is briefly mentioned that this was during the reign of King Josiah of Judah. And then he immediately tells us the words of prophecy. Zephaniah talks about the Lord's Day at great length. What day does the day of the Lord refer to? Like Sunday, when we gather together and worship, would any kind of good thing happen on that day? Zephaniah says that the day of the Lord is a day of judgment on evil people. He said that he was so afraid of that judgment that he would destroy the people, animals, birds of the air, and fish in the sea that God had created. Doesn't it seem like things are going in the opposite direction of the creation story of Genesis? Why does God talk about this kind of judgment? Zephaniah 1:12 says this, "In Jerusalem there are evil people who say, 'God neither does good nor sends evil.'" People were doing evil things and saying that there would be no judgment from God. God said that he would find such people and punish them, even on a dark night. That day will be a day of anger, a day of tribulation and pain, a day of collapse and destruction, a dark, dark day, and a day covered with dark clouds and darkness. So, does this mean that hope is lost for Israel and all of God's creation? Zephaniah says that there are still people left even during this terrible judgment. The day of the Lord is approaching, and it is a world full of fear and judgment, a world where there seems to be no hope. But it refers to people who do not do bad things, do not lie, and do not have a lying tongue. And God will be among them and provide salvation. He said that he would be with them, rejoice over them, renew them with love, and sing with joy. Zephaniah's words seem to give us fear because of the judgment called the Day of the Lord. However, to those who seek God and live righteously, he promises a completely different God, God who is sweetest and most loving.